Good afternoon. Welcome to the NASA SEWP VI Q&A webinar held by GDI Consulting. My name is Cal, and I am your artificial intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and APEX, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a short discussion on the RFP requirements and what is needed for your submission. Next, Ab will provide some general notes and comments on NASA's latest batches of responses to questions and the way ahead. Then he will go into the details of these responses based on the different volumes of your submission as well as important topics such as partnering. Finally, before going into the Q&A, Ab will provide his recommendations towards preparing a winning proposal. If I want to summarize the message that we want to convey in this webinar, it is that there are a lot of moving parts and a vast number of responses to different questions that can affect your submission. Hence you need to carefully go through each and every one of them and calibrate your proposals on that basis. Also, don't underestimate the importance of compliance and color gate reviews. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Cal. Thank you for participating in this webinar. In this webinar, we're going to go through essentially the Q&As or the responses that NASA has recently published. So we're not going to go much into the details of what the requirements are, what is SEWP and all that. But I've held a number of other webinars in this regard. So if you want to actually review the submission requirements in more detail and background for the SEWP program, everything like that, you can always refer back to the previous webinars we've held, and Cal will put the link on the chat in a few moments, so you can actually go there later on and actually watch those webinars if you need more information. Also, we always have a very short intro about our company for those friends who are new to our webinars. I will try to make this very quick so our regular viewers are not bored. So let me very quickly go discuss about GDIC and its background and how we can actually help you generally. So with regards to SEWP V, we actually help 6 clients, 4 small businesses and 2 large businesses actually won on SEWP V through our support. Our company has an overall win rate of 81%. This is average of 3 years. And in 2023, we had 226 wins with $11.9 billion. We will very quickly, we are reaching the end of 2024, so we can actually get the results for that at the end of this year. I will not go into the details of the rest of this. You can always refer back to our capabilities here. So moving forward, specifically towards SEWP VI, there are 4 areas that we provide services. We provide free consultation, so we can answer any questions that you might have. We do an eligibility and qualification assessment for you. So before you actually take on this project, we check, vet you with regards to your capabilities and qualifications to make sure that you do have the capability to actually participate. so you don't waste your time, effort, resources, and money to prepare a proposal in which you don't have a good chance. And then once we pass that, we have two specific services: full proposal development for those companies who want us to take full responsibility. We put a dedicated team, proposal team, to actually provide cradle to grave support for all volumes, all 3 volumes, and submission, and full and multiple reviews. For those companies who are doing the proposals themselves, we provide review services. Again, we do full proposal and compliance reviews. You could call it red and gold, plus compliance, which is very important. And we provide strategy consultation to those companies. So these are the services we provide towards SEWP VI. As a whole, our company has 4 divisions. Proposal development division, which also includes the traditional proposal writing as well as self-scoring proposal writing. And these days, the results of Oasis Plus are coming out. We had actually a 98% win rate on all our 108 companies that we helped prepare their proposals towards Oasis Plus. So we have a traditional proposal writing and a self-scoring proposal writing system in place. That includes eligibility score assessment, full proposal development, reviews, color gate reviews, and staff augmentation. Then we have a capture management division. We have long range or strategic, or as it's called, dedicated capture management. And we have short-term sourcing and qualification capture services for our clients. The support services division provides competitive intel, black hat exercises, and price to win, as usually used for large businesses. And then we have the training division, which provides proposal development and capture management to our clients. So that's a very quick overview, and I put our contact information here. You can see my email and phone number, as well as Maroon Freedy, my colleague, who follows up on consulting and sales. So if you have any questions, you want to set up a time for a free call, consultation call, or you want to have any questions about our services, please contact Maroon. If you have any technical questions specifically on this SEWP opportunity, you can email me. You probably won't find me on the phone, but I will respond to your emails quickly. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's give a very brief intro to SEWP, but I will not go into the details. So SEWP has 3 categories, as you know. Category A is solutions, so to say hardware, IT, and audiovisual. And both unrestricted and large businesses and small businesses can participate. Then you have category B and category C, which are essentially both services, software services, and IT services. Category B is at the end of the day for larger businesses, and the task orders for it will be larger. Category C is smaller. Now for category B, both large businesses and small businesses can participate, but for category C, only small businesses can participate. Okay, let's move forward. Now, these are the categories under category A. So you can see IT computer systems and compute facilities, IT storage systems, network technology, communication equipment, and so on and so forth, all the way to product-based services. So these are all the solutions or areas of solutions that go under category A. For category B and C are essentially very similar. It covers almost everything with regards to IT services, both ITC and AV, so audiovisual is included as well. So category B and C are very similar in terms of the scope of there are 11 areas that they cover. Now, let's also take a look at general look at the proposal requirements for each of these categories and volumes. Now there are 3 volumes. Doesn't matter which category you're going after, whether it's category A, B, or C. You have to provide these volumes. Now the content might be different depending on the category, but the first volume or offer volume has 3 sections: administrative documents, the usual, which is available on any RFP that you want to go after. Then you have to have 2 certifications, ISO 9001. All offers, whether you're category A, B, or C, you need that. And then CMMI level 2 or above, that's only needed for category B. So if you're a small business and you want to go after IT services for category C, you don't need CMMI. CMMI is only needed for category B. And then there is mandatory experience. Mandatory experience, I will go into details. It's very important. Don't get that mixed up with second volume, which is past performance. Now, in past performance volume, there are 2 sections. There's a 10-pager past performance description that you provide up to 3 contracts and you write towards them. And then you have to provide PPQs on specific forms, get them signed by the contracting officers of those contracts, and sent directly. The PPQs must be sent directly to the government. So past performance volume, essentially, as far as the submission is concerned, those 10 pages. But you also need to prepare the PPQs and send them to the contracting officers to be submitted to the government, to NASA. And then the third volume, there are 2 15-page pagers. Subfactor 1A is technical approach, 15 pages. And subfactor B, management approach, 15 pages. This is essentially write-ups. Okay, so this is the structure of the proposal. Now, I want to go very quickly over the requirements for each category. So if you're going after category A, for volume 1, you need to provide your ISO 9001 2015 certification. Then remember, we had 9 areas under category A. For one of them, you need to provide 1,000 CLINs, line items of different products that you're providing to the government. So 1,000 CLINs from one designated provider or OEM, and then 50 CLINs from a second provider for that specific technical area or sub area, if you call it. Then out of those 9, and then for 3 others, you need to provide 100 CLINs from one provider or 3 providers, doesn't matter, but I mean 100 CLINs, and then 50 CLINs from a second provider for each of those. So the first sub area or the main sub area, you need overall 1,050. For the 3 other sub areas, overall you need 150, 100 from one provider, 50 from another provider. And then this, some people have missed, a minimum of 2 CLINs from a provider on sub area 9A, which is product-based services. Okay, so you need to have at least 2 CLINs on product-based services, sub area 9A. Remember not to miss that. For volume 2, which is past performance under category A, if you're a large business, you have to have, you can have up to 3 contracts, but you can have 1 contract only. I mean, 1 past performance is enough as far as the government is concerned. It has to cover 4 of those category A sub areas or technical areas, as some people call it. So you might be able to cover those 4 areas with just 1 contract. It has different scope areas, so it covers all of them, or you can actually provide 3 contracts, up to 3 contracts. But the important thing is that the annual value must be of those contracts must be $2.5 million. And the areas that you cover must not include sub area 9A, which is product-based services. So essentially there are 8 areas that you need to cover. Not cover all of them. 4 out of those 8 areas you need to cover. So the important thing is that the annual value of the contract that you provide for your past performance, if you're a large business, must be $2.5 million. For small businesses, then the same thing. You can have 1 contract, or you can have up to 3 past performance contracts, but you need to cover only 3 out of the 8 areas. So not 4 for large businesses, it's 3 for small businesses. And the annual value is much less. It's $150,000. Again, remember that I said 8 areas. The 9th area, which is sub area 9A, does not count. So your contract cannot cover that. So 8 areas. Out of those 8 areas, 3 you must cover. Now, the past performance contracts, They can be completed contracts. If that's the case, they must have been completed after May 23rd, 2021. So the completion date must be after that date, or maybe they're ongoing. If that's the case, then you need to have at least 6 months of performance. Your contracts can be federal, they can be commercial, they can be prime, or it might be a contract that you performed as a subcontractor. That's fine. Also, if you're a small business and don't have enough contracts to cover, say, 3 of those category A sub areas, you can actually bring in a subcontractor and use their past performance. So one of your, for example, past performances, perhaps your own past performance covers only 2 sub areas, 2 technical sub areas. So you bring in a subcontractor and use their past performance for the 3rd one. So that's allowed only for small businesses. If you're a large business, you cannot do that. Now, there is a misconception with regards to how to calculate the annual value. It's different from how GSA does it, so don't make a mistake here. The annual value that you need for those contracts is calculated based on the amount obligated and the duration up to the current date. So perhaps you have a $20 million contract and 1 year has passed and you've been paid, say, $500,000. So you divide $500,000 by 1 year, that's $250,000. That's the value. The $20 million value, the total contract value, is not divided by, say, the total contract duration is 10 years or something like that. What has been paid to you divided by up to now, the date from start till now. That's how you actually calculate the annual value. Don't make a mistake there. And then for volume 3, essentially you need to write 15 pages write up for technical approach and 15 pages for management approach. So these were the requirements for category A. Let's quickly discuss category B as well. So in category B, not only you need ISO 9001:2015, which is required for category A and C as well. Here you also need CMMI level 2 or higher certification. Now, for all these categories, both for ISO 9001 and CMMI level 2, if you don't have it now, but you can prove that it's in process, that's acceptable if you're a small business. So for small businesses, it's acceptable if you show that it is in process. And I will explain how you should show that. Now, under volume 1, if you're a large business, here you don't bring in those CLINs and things like that. This is category B, which is services. Here you must provide your experience through what they call REPs, relevant experience project. So for large businesses, you need to provide 4 contracts or 4 REPs, relevant experience projects. Each of them must be $30 million total value, not annual, total value. So all the contracts must be above $30 million, and they must cover 4 separate sub areas or technical sub areas. So 1 rep per sub area. If a rep covers 2, maybe you have a contract that covers 2 sub areas, you have to decide which one you present it as. You can't use it for 2 sub areas. So 4 contracts you need to have, each above $30 million to cover 4 of the sub areas. If you're a small business, then you need only 3 contracts to cover 3 sub areas. And the value must be above $5 million. That's for category B. If you're a specialized or a special socioeconomic category, like hub zone, SDVOSB or VOSB, EDWOSB or WOSB, or 8A, then you only need 2 contracts to cover 2 sub areas. So 1 rep per sub area, and the value must be over $4 million, not 5, like the other small businesses. So that's the requirement for volume 1. Now in volume 2, you provide past performance. Don't mix up volume 1 and volume 2. These are completely separate sections, even though in volume 1 you're supposed to present contracts. They want to see your experience there. So values are important, large amounts, total amount, and things like that. Here in volume 2, past performance is important. So they want to see how well you did it. Now here, if you're a large business, you can have up to 3 contracts. Maybe you have 1 that cover 4 of the sub areas, category B sub areas. And remember, you cannot cover 11B. So 11B sub area 11B cannot does not count. So there are essentially 10 sub areas or technical areas, and you need to cover 4 of them if you're a large business. But that can be done with 1 contract. Maybe it has the scope covers 4 of those sub areas, or you can have up to 3 contracts to cover the 4 sub areas. Now the annual value of these contracts must be $2.5 million. Remember, here's annual value. In volume 1 was the total contract value. Here it's the annual value, $2.5 million for large business. For small business, again, from 1 to 3 contracts that you need to provide, but you have to cover 3 of the sub areas, not 4 like large businesses. 3 out of the 10, 11B does not count. So 3 out of the 10 sub areas or technical areas, and the annual value must be over $1 million. Now, if you're a specialized socioeconomic category like hub zones, STVOSBs, women-owned small business, or 8As, then you need to cover only 2 sub areas. Okay, so up to 2 contracts, perhaps 1 contract per sub area, or just 1 contract might be, cover both of them. But you need to cover at least 2 of the category B sub areas out of the 10. And the annual value must be above $1 million. So remember that. Now, the important thing is that, as I said, the contracts that you provide here for volume 2 do not have to be the same ones that you provide for volume 1. So maybe you have large contracts that do not, for any reason, you want to use for past performance. That's up to you. And also, if the contracts that you use for past performance, they must have been completed after May 23rd, 2021. So the completion date must be after that. Or if they're ongoing, that's fine, but 6 months of performance. Now, your contracts, again, similar to category A, they can be federal, commercial, or even prime, or as sub, performed as sub. Again, if you're a small business, you can use a past performance of a subcontractor as well. Again, as I explained for category A, annual value is calculated based on the actual amount paid to you, so amount obligated and duration up to now of the contract. And volume 3 is the same, 15 pages write-up for technical, 15 pages write-up for management approach. So that's the requirements for category B. Quickly go to category C before we go to the question. So category C is essentially similar to category B. First of all, you don't need CMMI for that, and large businesses cannot participate in category C. It's just for small businesses. Now, for volume 1, again, here you provide those reps, relevant experience projects. If you're a small business, total small business without a socioeconomic standing, then you must provide 3 contracts covering 3 of the category C sub areas. And this does not cover 11B, 11C, I should say. And then the total value of these contracts must be $2 million. This is for total small business. If you're a special socioeconomic category like hub zone, STVOSB, women-owned small business, or 8A, then you need to have only 2 contracts to cover 2 of the sub areas. But the total value must be above $2 million each for each of those 2 contracts. Now, for volume 2, if you're a total small business, you need to cover 3 of the category sub areas, and the annual value must be above $500,000. If you're a special socioeconomic category, instead of 3 contracts, you need to have up to 2 contracts. In other words, covering 2 categories instead of 3 categories for total small business. But the annual value is the same, $500,000. And then the same requirements apply here, similar to category B. I won't go into them, including volume 3. So these were the requirements for the 3 volumes. Now let's go into the details of the responses that NASA has provided. And as I said, if you have any more questions, you want to have more detailed information on the requirements, please refer back to the webinars we held, or we can jump on a call and I can answer any questions that you have. Okay, so the latest NASA response to questions. So essentially, it started with Amendment 5, which was issued on July 22nd, and they issued a few Q&As and corrected them later on July 29th. Then Amendment 7 actually provided a complete overhaul of the documents, of the forums and everything. And some of the questions were also responded to, but essentially I think it was something around 150 overall questions that were answered, or I mean very few questions were answered. Then the main bunch came in October 11th, 1,399, and on October 28th, 1,201 responses were published by NASA. So overall, 2,600 responses have been issued this month. Now, they have received 4,456 unique questions. That's what they've said. And they have responded to 2,600 in this month and a few last month, previous month. So still about 1,700 remain. Now, there is a industry day upcoming on November 6th. I hope that most of you are going to participate on it. And what we expect is that they don't have time to go over the questions, obviously. So they're going to go, explain the general requirements probably in that industry day. I doubt very much that they have enough time to actually go over some 2,600 questions. And then there is there is supposed to be a 2-day question period again, so you can actually submit new questions. This was supposed to be on between 22nd and 24th of October, but they've postponed that, so we have to see when they will schedule it. The proposal submission is still set for December 18th, 2024, but we have to see what they will say either in the industry day on November 6th or later on. Okay, so having said that, let's start going into the details of these responses. I've divided them into different sections for clarity. Let's start with general. Now, there is I call it a black hole of NAICS, because NAICS is used in different ways in this RFP, and there's a considerable confusion on this. A lot of questions and responses towards those questions is devoted to the NAICS issue. So I have divided the NAICS question into 5 areas. I hope this will clarify some of the things. First of all, there is the SEWP VI RFP NAICS. So category A has 541519E, category B has 541512, and category C has 541512. Just ignore them. Forget about them. That's the easiest way I can say. This is for their own internal use. Then you have what they call the NAICS code for competition. In other words, when you prepare your proposal and want to submit it, the system, when you're submitting your proposal, asks you your size standard and your NAICS. So they want to know if you're small, large, what. So you have to pick one specific NAICS code when you're submitting your proposal. And that's called in the documentation NAICS code for competition. So that's when you're actually submitting your proposal, and we will come back to that because we need that. Then you have the NAICS size standard crosswalk. It's a document, Exhibit 4. Here, depending on which category you're going for, there's a list of NAICS code. And here you have to actually say whether you're small or large and the type of business you have, like 8A, women-owned, whatever, under each and every NAICS under that category. So remember, you have to actually put in whether you're small or large under each and every NAICS on that crosswalk Exhibit 4 document. The fourth type is the NAICS of your rep contracts, relevant experience projects. Remember, this is for category B and C, obviously. Category A doesn't have this. Now, the reps, those contracts that you use in volume 1, okay, they can be any NAICS codes that are listed on that Exhibit 4 crosswalk under the category that you're going for. So if category B lists, say, I don't remember exactly, 20 NAICS codes, the reps contracts that you will be using under volume 1, whether you're going for category B or category C, whatever, they can be of any of those NAICS codes. That's fine. Now the catch. Now the fifth type. NAICS for your past performance example. So for volume 2, you have to provide past performance between 1 contract to 3 contracts. Here, the NAICS codes of those contracts that you use must be the same as the NAICS code for competition, the one number 3, the one that you actually submit your proposal on that basis. So if you're submitting your proposal under 541512, for example, then the past performance contracts that you will be using must have that same NAICS code, 541512. So this is how the different types of NAICS usage in SEWP can be summarized. I hope this helps you. Moving on, ability 1. Okay, ability 1, there's some different contradictory notes, even in the responses, whether all companies need it or some companies need it based on the NAICS code. Some of the NAICS codes have an asterisk, meaning that you need it. At the end of the day, our recommendation is go get that letter. It's just a letter that you need to get from the Ability 1 system. They're slow because there's a lot of companies that requesting it. So start now if you have not done so already, and then push them to actually get back that letter from them. It's a signed letter. You have to submit that with your proposal. Don't risk, because as I said, there are contradictory statements in the responses, whether all companies need it or just companies that are going to use the NAICS codes with the asterisks. So our recommendation, get Ability 1 letter for your proposal. Multiple proposals and categories, just to make sure. You need a separate proposal for each category. So if you're going for category A, category B, and category C, or any combination, you need to prepare separate proposals for each of them. And when I say separate proposal, I mean every single document must be duplicated. You need to submit. So the crosswalk, the SCRM forms, everything. So as standalone proposals. If you bid, this was one of the questions, a lot of questions actually were regarding this. If you're bidding as a small business and you win, you can participate in the unrestricted task orders of that category you're going for, but not vice versa, obviously. So large businesses cannot participate in small business task orders, but if you win on, say, category B as a small business, then you can actually participate in all task orders under that category, whether it's for small businesses or unrestricted. So you are awarded based on a category, so you can actually bid on all sub areas. Maybe you pick the first 2 or 3 sub areas under category B and submit your reps and past performances and things like that. But once you're awarded and there's a task order under the 9th or 8th sub area, you can still participate in it. So award is based on a category, not technical area. So those are some general points. Now let's go into volume 1, offer volume including experience, and I will explain that quickly. You have a lot to cover. So for category A, provider cleanse. So providing more than 1,050, remember 1,000 from one provider and 50 from another for the primary technical area. That's 1,050. And then for 3 other areas, 150, 100 from one provider, 50 from another. You can provide them more, but it doesn't count as far, there's no difference. They will use that later on once you're awarded And the thing is that you can always add to it after the award. So there's no point in actually, going for more larger lists or anything like that. Just go for what they're asking for. You can use the same provider or OEM for multiple technical areas. So minimum is 2 overall. So what I mean is that you want to cover 4 areas. You have Cisco covering all those 4 areas. So you get 1,000 points from CLINs from Cisco for 1 area, technical area, and 100 for 3 other areas. That's acceptable. And then for the second part, the 50s, you have to use another provider. So at the end of the day, the minimum providers is 2. The first, the larger one, the 1,000 and the 100s, they're called designated providers. So for them, they must be listed on that Enclosure 1 SEWP 6 providers list. You cannot use companies, providers from outside that list for the designated providers, the larger ones. But the others, the ones that are providing those 50 CLINs, they don't have to be on that list. So that's another point. Now, with regards to subsidiaries and brands, again, category A. All subsidiaries and brands belonging to one of the OEMs or providers on the government list on that Enclosure 1 can be used. So if, say, HP has a subsidiary and you're getting, your list from that subsidiary, that's acceptable. However, remember, distributors cannot provide LOAs. So, and I will cover this again on the LOAs. So you cannot use distributors and getting them sign your LOA. That's the most important part. Now, let's discuss these LOAs in more detail. Again, category A. The LOA letter must reference SEWP 6. So you can't use a letter you got 2 years ago. It doesn't, mention SEWP 6. So the letter itself must mention SEWP 6, and it must has the name of the POC and contact information and its position in the company. The POC that signs the LOA must be the same POC given in Exhibit 3A. So you have to put that information there. And must be a U.S. citizen, be either a federal sales representative or equivalent. An LOA cannot come from a distributor. Again, emphasize. So maybe you get it from a distributor, but it has to be signed by the OEM itself, by the provider. Maybe your channel to get that letter might be your distributor, but at the end of the day, the letter must be signed by the OEM itself. For a JV, the LOA must be in the name of the JV, cannot be in the name of one of the members. So if you have a JV and your LOA is in the name of one of the JV members, it doesn't work. You have to again get that LOA again in the name of the JV. LOAs are not needed from providers for each area that give you the extra 50 CLINs. I think I covered that. So maximum LOAs that you need is 4 LOAs for the 4 areas. If, for example, Cisco is covering all of them, or HP or Dell or whatever, all 4 of those areas, then you need only 1 LOA that covers all those 4 areas. Okay, pricing on the CLIN. So for CLIN pricing, the following costs are not priced at the RFQ order level: travel, credit discount, delivery fees, government imposed fees, ODCs, overhead, and general administration. You must include agency administrative handling fee. Don't forget that. So into your pricing. So it's a maximum 0.34%. Include that in your pricing. All prices are considered ceiling prices, and you can provide discounts at task order level. So these are ceiling prices that you will be providing. And if you're on a GSA mass schedule, the prices that you provide must be equal or less than that GSA mass prices. You can't provide prices to NASA that are above your GSA schedule. For exhibits 3A and 3C, all of them, there are no minimum number of LCATs required to be input in for exhibit 3B or 3C. So here you can actually input LCATs, but there's no minimum number. The LCATs you provide should align with your proposal solution. the technical areas. So try to do that. Okay, moving forward. ISO 9001, CMMI, and CSCRM certification. So first of all, ISO 9001 2008 is no longer acceptable. Make sure that you have ISO 9001 2015. The emphasis that you cannot use ISO 9001 or CMMI from your parent company through a Merkle, meaningful, a relationship letter. So you cannot have that from a parent company. Your company must have ISO 9001 or CMMI. Now, proof for ISO 9001 or CMMI being in process, there's no document you need that. All you need to provide if your ISO 9001 or CMMI is in the process is to provide the name of the company, the provider company, name, address, and information, plus the POC of that company. So the government can actually call them and make sure that this is the case. For the CSCRM, you can either fill out the Exhibit 5 CSCRM attestation form. Remember, not the attachment J, they have the same naming. Exhibit 5, you have to fill out Exhibit 5. Or an active open trusted technology provider standard certification for meeting ISO 20243 standard. So either way works. Okay, moving forward. Let's see, reps. So relevant experience projects. And remember, we are in volume 1. This is for category B's and C submissions. So you cannot use the same rep for multiple technical areas in the same proposal. This was, many questions on that. So one rep per technical area. If you're a small business and must cover 3 technical areas, then you have to provide 3 reps, 3 contracts, separate contracts. If you're a large business, 4 contracts. There was a ambiguity towards whether you can use the same rep for multiple categories. For those companies that are going to say for category B and C, yes, you can use the same contract as a rep. This has been corrected. Do not submit more than the required number of reps. So if you're a small business, you're supposed to provide 3 contracts. Do not provide 4 contracts. Just 3 reps. Each rep should include detailed project descriptions, performance metrics, and relevant client references. It's important, references, as specified in Exhibit 1. Do not include extra documents like the SAO or contract award. Again, this was clarified. Initially, they had said that you have to provide supporting documents. No supporting document is needed, just the rep form Exhibit 1. Now, Exhibit 1 is not required for category A, obviously. A requirement for Exhibit 1 for category A was mentioned by mistake in the Q&A of Amendment 5. So if you've seen that, that was a mistake. They later corrected that. Reps overall can be 4 pages. One that page, that form, and then you can attach 3 pages to that for the explanations. So overall 4 pages. Reps can have any of the allowed next codes, as I mentioned earlier, from the Exhibit 4 next size standard crosswalk. Look up the category B or C, whichever you're going. Your rep can cover can have the next code of any of those listed. So those are the most important points about reps for Volume 1. Now let's move to Volume 2, which is past performance, the clarifications. So note for category A, past performance should be from the first 8 technical areas. The 9th area, product-based services, is not covered. So your past performance should not cover product-based services. The same thing for category B, the 11th area, which is program management, ancillary services, and supplies. That cannot be the subject of the past performance contract. So your past performance must cover the first 10 technical areas. For category C, again, the same thing. The 11th area is program management, ancillary services. Your past performance should not cover that. So the first 10, pick contracts that cover the first 10 areas. Now, projects used for past performance in Volume 2 can be, but don't have to be the same as those used in Volume 1 as rep. So they can be completely different contracts. Maybe you use 3 reps in Volume 1, and then 3 or 1 or 2 contracts in Volume 2 past performance, which are completely different. They don't even have to cover the same technical areas. So maybe your reps cover technical area 1, 2, and 3, and your past performance covers technical area 4, 5, and 6. That's fine. That's acceptable. No requirement. The important requirement here is number 5. For all categories, the NAICS of the past performance projects used must be the same as the submission NAICS. So based on that, how you're going to submit your proposal, it's going to ask you for a specific NAICS code. They call it NAICS code for competition. That's what it's called. That same NAICS code must be on your past performance, or you can go backwards. If your past perform projects have a specific NAICS code, make sure that you actually submit your proposal using that NAICS code. So these were the most important clarifications for Volume 2. Let's go into Volume 3, Mission Suitability. Not much here actually. So response to the commitment to sustainability area under management approach is mandatory for all categories and all types of companies. Everybody must respond to that. The 4 acquisition objectives that must be that was mentioned in the technical approach are and contracts and everything to boost up your own capabilities in your write-up for Volume 3. So these are the most important parts in Volume 3 clarifications. Now let's discuss partnering. So emphasis that OTSPs, in other words large businesses, cannot use subcontractors for Volume 1 and 2 contracts. So you cannot bring in, if you're a large business, you cannot use a subcontractor and use their contracts as experience or as reps or as past performance. You can prime and at the same time be part of another team, like be a JV member or be a subcontractor for that same category, but once, not in 2 different teams. So you can be once prime and once part of another team per category. Then partnering, meaning JVs and subcontracts, do not require a Merkle. So just if you're partnering with 2 companies, you don't need a Merkle. But if you're using their past performance, for example, you're a small business and you're short of 1 rep or short of a past performance, and you're using your subcontractor's contract for that, which is only allowed for small businesses, remember, then you need to actually sign a Merkle with them. So a Merkle is needed for that. Subcontractors and teammates can always be added after the award. So you don't have to actually have a lot of subcontractors at this point. If they don't add value to you, you can always add them at task order level later on. And then if you're subbing, you can participate in multiple teams, and it is allowed. So if you're subbing, you can participate in multiple teams. Important. There was a confusion as to whether you can use the same contracts or past performance or write-ups in the different volumes if you're submitting in 2 different proposals, perhaps as prime and as a team member. They have clarified it, and yes, you can use the same material. So that's important clarification. Okay, some issues about submission. So if you're going for multiple categories, you need to provide separate proposals, including CSCRM attestation and similar forms. I think I covered that. Each LOA should be saved separately within the Volume 1 folder based on the naming convention that they explained on page 92 of the RFP. Emphasis that the proposal components such as, for example, the exhibits, ISO 9001, LOAs, and all of them should be saved separately as individual PDFs. Don't bunch them together. As individual PDFs within the same folder of their corresponding volume. Spreadsheets must be converted to PDF for inclusion in the single PDF file for each proposal volume. Additionally, completed to be bunched together, so one PDF that has two of these areas, subfactor A and subfactor P. And finally, CUI information is not allowed to be submitted. If you have CUI, or some people call it CUI information, you cannot submit. So try to pick information or contacts that do not have CUI. Government does not accept it. Okay, so that those were essentially the most important factors in those 2,600 questions that we went through. A few recommendations I have for you. So continuously monitor SAM and NASA's SEWP VI website for updates to the Q&A. So we expect another 1,700 that have not been answered. So they and NASA has said that they're going to answer those. So make sure that you don't miss those. And then carefully study all the 2,600 existing responses and gauge your proposal accordingly. I have covered some of these here today, but obviously each company has its own specific requirements, questions, and things like that. So you really need to go through those 2,600 to make sure that nothing is missed. Ensure that you fully understand the do's and don'ts of the RFP, especially if you're going for multiple categories or if you're both prime and part of a team. As for compliance, compliance is of utmost importance. I want to emphasize this time and again. In SEWP VI submission, in addition to the customary gate reviews. Do not mix these two together. Put a separate team to review specifically for compliance. There are too many moving parts on this proposal, too many responses and questions and everything. So you really need a separate team, perhaps a team that is preparing your proposal, and then you need a separate team that will check it for compliance. Do not underestimate the compliance review needs for volume 1 and 2. Don't think that you just need to do it for volume 3. So just to give you an example, I talked to people who thought that the UNSPC SC code is not needed for every line item. So if you're going for category A, overall you need 1,050 for the main sub area, and then 450 for the three others. All of these line items must have the UNSPSC code in them. So these are the type of compliance and review and needs that must be made to make sure that you're in compliance. With regards to reviews, get your proposal reviewed by a third party, either within your own organization or a professional proposal development company like us, for example. But do make sure that it's reviewed by a separate team. Added this again here. I did cover this. So we provide free consultation. You can always set up a call and we can answer any questions that you might have. And if you need reviews, we have that service available. If you're late in the game and you haven't prepared your proposal, we can also help you in terms of first do an eligibility qualification assessment, make sure that you can actually participate, you have the minimum requirements, and then prepare the proposal for you. Okay, so having said that, and as usual, I'm very much behind, we reached the Q&A session, and I will try to, we have about 7 minutes or even less. I will try to go through some of the questions that we have received. So quite a few questions. And I think you should actually ask as many questions as you have, because I doubt very much that the industry day, they will answer many questions, or they might receive them, but who knows when they will answer. So let's start with Paul's question. Paul says, if you're using a partner's rep, do we need just a subcontractor agreement or a Merkle? Paul, you need both of them. So you need a Merkle and an agreement, and include both of them in your proposal. Question from Anne. So for our past performance projects, we need to make sure that they have the same NAICS code as the one we are submitting our proposal under. Correct. That's right. And she continues. And what about the reps? The past performance projects, they must have the same NAICS for your submission. But the reps, no, they can have, any NAICS code that is acceptable under that category. Another question from Anne. We are an 8A company going for category B. Did I hear correctly that we can cover 2 technical areas with our reps and then cover 2 different areas with our past performance projects if we use different contracts? That's correct. So what areas you cover with your reps does not have to be the same as the past performance. You need to cover 2 areas at the end of the day with your reps and 2 areas with your past performance contracts, but they don't have to be the same. Okay, question from Steven. Steven says, how can we prove that our ISO 9001 is in process? As I said, there's no documentation needed. Just provide the company, providing company name and address and telephone number and so on, so forth, and the POC, so they can actually call or email them and ask. Question from Megan. What is this issue with using AI and also listing consultants? Right, I didn't cover that, but now that you've actually asked this, let me cover it. So there's a section in the RFP saying that you have to list all the consultants that you used in preparing your RFP, your proposal, plus any AI tools that you have used. So, and they have people have asked on this, and the government has answered that this does not affect. First of all, you have to provide this information, so you must answer this. It's a requirement, and it goes into volume 1. But this does not affect how they rank or score or anything like that, your submission. So maybe you use 10 consultants and you use 10 different AI software to actually prepare the proposal. No problem. You just have to mention whether you've done it or not. This does not, and they have specifically said it, explicitly said it, that this does not affect how they're going to review your proposal. They just want to know whether you use consultants or not. You have to give for example, if you're using GDIC, our company, you have to say GDIC company, the name, and perhaps the address. Helped us prepare the proposal. They helped us in writing, or they helped us in this, that. Or if you use, for example, different AI tools to correct grammar and spelling, or to summarize some of the information and things like that, you just mention it. That's it. Okay, question from Jennifer. We are priming in Cat C, but are subbing in Cat B. Do we still need to provide different contracts for ourselves and our teaming partner submission? No, as I explained, you can use the same contracts and same write-up for volume 3, and also the same reps. Everything can be the same if you want to use everything from one submission to the other. They have explicitly answered this question in the Q&A. Question from Fred. I was told that you cannot use the same OEM for different technical areas. Is this true? No, Fred, you can actually use it. So you can use the same OEM for all the 4 technical areas that you need to provide CLINs. So take Cisco, for example. They can provide the 1000 CLINs for the main sub area, technical area, and 100 for the 3 others. That's acceptable. So all of them can come from Cisco. But for the 50, for the second 50 for each of those 4 areas, that can't come from Cisco. It must be from a second or more than 2 providers. Question from Sandra. There are 2 CSCRM attestation forms which should be provided with the proposal, which is for after award. Okay, good question, Sandra. So, and this was a subject of confusion as well. So Exhibit 5 CSCRM attestation form is the one you fill out and submit with your proposal. And then Attachment J CSCRM attestation is actually the it says attestation form, but it's really the CSCRM plan, and it should be submitted after award. Now that's the problem. If you look at some of the questions, somebody has asked, should we fill out the CSCRM attestation form, and the government has said no, you should not fill out Attachment J CSCRM attestation form. That's it. And then people think that, hey, no attestation form should be filled out. So the correct response is this: Exhibit 5 should be filled out and submitted with your proposal, but Attachment J you should not submit now. It's after the award. Make sure that you don't make a mistake there. Okay, so actually we have run out of time. So I thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. I'm sorry, I see a lot of questions still unanswered. I will go through each and every one of these and respond to you by email. So I will answer all your questions. As I said, if you want to set up a call with us, contact Maroon Freedy, and we can set up a call and discuss any questions that you might have. Also, I saw one question saying that you have difficulty downloading the slide deck. If that's the case, just mention that you cannot download the slide deck on the chat system, and we have your emails since you have registered. Then we can actually send the slide deck to you by email. Thank you everyone for participating in this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you in our future webinars as well. Have a great day.